Hi, I'm talking with Ahmed, a recent purchaser of quite a sizable RTO in Queensland. How you going, Ahmed?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for having me, Travis. How are you?
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. Look, before we start, what was your experience before you got into RTOs?
Experience in RTOs or managing RTOs has been zero. The only thing I'd ever done with RTOs historically has been getting a few cert threes and fours. And that's really about it. So it's the kind of industry that I knew existed, I'd had interacted with, but had never been really close to in any way.
So you really jumped in both feet into the pool. How was your experience going through using Infinity Business Brokers?
Yeah, so we've been looking at purchasing a business for a while, and it wasn't the first thing that we looked at. We had considered a couple of things beforehand, and then this opportunity came along. We First of all, there's a lot of broker sites and there's a lot of broker emails that go about, etc. But there's really not many that are insightful. So the first thing that kind of got my attention with Infinity was the fact that, the listings spoke to me in some way. They spoke about returns, they spoke about the opportunity, longevity of the business, what's good, the opportunities in it moving forward. So it caught my eye that it kind of spoke my language up front. I got onto the website, I started looking at some of the videos that you've had. It was a few notches better than what I had seen with other brokers. And so I felt comfortable reaching out to starting a conversation. It just felt like somebody who knew the industry and who knew what they're talking about than just a shop that was just selling every single listing possible.
And what about sort of the communication and support you received as a buyer? Because normally, obviously, a broker like myself works on sell side, but as a buyer, how did you find the communication and the level of support given to you?
No, so look, the entire experience was actually quite amazing. You personally approachable via phone, via text, via email, but what more importantly was that you had one foot in the company and with the vendor, and you had equally one on our side with us. And I thought that you've done a really good job just to try and bring both parties to understand each other, work together, negotiate and broker the deal. I'm sure you can imagine and recall that was one deal that took quite some time just from the complexity of the entire transaction. We were working on this for nearly just over 12 months, I believe, from when we first made contact to settlement. And so it's been a pretty strenuous exercise. I would have thought most people would have quit by then, but no, you persevered and kept pushing. And every problem we encountered was another opportunity just to get closer to closing the deal. So, super appreciative of the entire experience. Yeah.
What's one thing you've learned that you're going to take forward when you deal with other brokers?
So two things stood out. One was you had personally run RTOs before, and it makes the world's difference when you've got someone who actually understands the numbers, the ratio, what good looks like, etc. So everything you were telling me was something that I would learn, would note down, and then I'd go and cross-reference and check and run my own numbers, and I'd say, yep, quite spot on, spot on, spot on. It all makes perfect sense. So I really think if I was to work with a broker, if they hadn't run the gig themselves, I'd be not cautious, but it would be not my preferred option, right? Yeah, and then the second one was then just in that ability to be able to, because of having that experience, to work with us and the vendor to make that experience, seamless. You speak the lingo, you understand the industry. You could comfortably get us across the line and show us the opportunity. And having the credibility allows us to trust you a lot more, right? Than somebody that just says, "Oh, by the way, this is awesome," but they haven't actually ever had a foot in the door. Yeah.
Mate, thanks for all that. Any last words?
No, Travis, I've really liked the experience. Look, we're what, 2.5 months in. It nearly feels like 2 years, but it's been a lot of work. It's been awesome work, and I look forward to working together on the next transaction. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and all the very best.